Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Brain Slush TV. This is your boy Aries here with another collections video. And sheesh, when was the last one? I think it was a few months ago. It hasn't been that long, but you know, in terms of collection videos, I guess it has been a while. I think it was the N64, I believe it was. I don't know why I want to say the Game Boy, but I think that was the one before the N64 one. So I could be wrong, but you know, if you haven't checked that one out, I'll put a link up on top so y'all can peep that one as well. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'll put the playlist up on top so y'all can check it out if you haven't already. So yeah, so usually, you know, I think I've said this before in like the other collection videos, I really don't have like this huge library of games for this particular console. You know what I mean? Once I start getting into the PlayStation 2 and maybe the Xbox and the Xbox 360, then you know that one's gonna be pretty long. This one might actually, just because right now I'm looking at, I want to say like 13 games, and some of these we already know what they are, you know, and I'm not really going to spend too much time on those just because we're already familiar with some of these. So you know, there's not much to say other than, you know, things that I like about them and, you know, what I remember, you know, first playing them back in the day. So yeah, man, so you know, so like I said, this is not like the greatest collection in the world, but I feel like I got some bangers right here. So let's not waste any more time and start getting into the GameCube list of games that I have here. All right, so I'm just gonna start with this one just because like it's gonna be the odd one out, and because when I first got this game, it had no case. It was like in this paper case that was all ripped up, and I think I got it for, I think $1 or $2 at the swap meet. So you know, the guy was kind of like, oh, I have a case right here, and it was all fucking pinche roto, quebrado and shit like that. But look, here it is. And obviously you can't tell what it is, so I have to open it up. But it is Naruto. What's it called? Naruto Clash of Ninja. I think it's a pretty good game, you know, for the most. It's just pretty, it's a fighter. That's all it really is. At first, I don't know why I was thinking that it was going to be some sort of story-driven game, but it's more of just like a competitive fighter, which I'm cool with, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, I watched probably a few episodes of Naruto, maybe, I want to say probably about 12 episodes, and I thought it was pretty cool. But you know, just like every other anime, once I start watching it, for some reason I stop. I don't know why. It just, maybe, I think sometimes I get overwhelmed by so much that's going on that I kind of just, you know, I move on to something else, and it's kind of like, I'll get back to it soon enough, but then by the time I come back, I don't remember what the hell happened. So I got to watch, you know, the few episodes before just to get back into the groove. But anyway, Clash of Ninja is a pretty good fighter. I did have some fun with it. The buttons definitely take some getting used to, but it kind of reminds me of Marvel vs. Capcom, you know, those type of fighters. So it's a pretty cool game, very competitive. If I had this game back in the day, you know, playing with my cousins or my siblings or something like that, we definitely would have got some fun out of this one. So yeah, man, Naruto Clash of Ninja, if you haven't, I recommend it. If you're into fighters, I highly recommend it. You know, if you're just a casual gamer, I suggest checking it out, because you know, you won't be disappointed. The controls are fine, the graphics are good, and it's just something you could pick up and play if you want to play by yourself or with somebody especially. So check it out if you haven't. So next I have here is Frogger Adventures The Rescue. Now, we've all played Frogger, right, for the most part. If it wasn't the Atari version, it was either on the PlayStation or somewhere. You've had to play it. And if you haven't played no Frogger, you absolutely have played Crossy Road, okay? If you played Crossy Road on the phone, you've played Frogger, essentially. But yeah, man, Frogger's Adventure is pretty much one of those games that, you know, it's very story-driven. You know, most Frogger games is just like, oh, try to get to the end. You know, you go through like different levels. You know, there's not really much to say. It's Frogger with a story, and I would suggest checking it out if you haven't. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say, hey, I highly recommend it or anything. But if you have it and you haven't played it, or if you see it laying around for a couple dollars, you know, somewhere out in the wild, I suggest picking it up and give it a try. It's pretty cool for what it is, and it said Konami here at the bottom, and honestly, I didn't know Konami made the Frogger games. That's probably just me not knowing, but I thought it was a I thought it was a Namco title. I don't know. But Frogger Adventures, check it out if you haven't. All right, so next on the list we have, boom, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah. Now, this game is pretty cool. It reminds me, when I was playing through it for a little while ago, I was kind of getting God of War vibes from it. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like that top-down view where the camera's, now they have Kratos, like you have the camera right behind his back in third-person view. I'm cool with that, but, I prefer the old God of War games. I like that whole like fixed camera angle from like, kind of almost bird's eye view or something like that. Anyway, in Avatar, it's essentially the same thing as like the first few God of War games. And it's a very RPG style. Every time you kill an enemy, you get experience points. Very story driven. I didn't get very far just because I wanted to show you guys little clips here and there, but it's pretty fun for what it is, and I know it's going to be one of those games that could essentially piss you the hell off. You know what I mean? Because I guess there's some moves that you're going to have to learn, and you're going to have to master the controls, because, I'm trying to use the yellow stick buttons to kind of dodge and stuff like that, and it doesn't do that. It just moves the camera, back and forth, and which, is whatever, but it would have been cool to have the yellow buttons as like dodge buttons, kind of, again, like the God of War games, when you would use the right stick, you push down, up, or something like that. He does his little like jolts, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what I wanted from this. I'm pretty sure down the line they kind of teach you how to dodge and stuff like that. I didn't get very far in the game to get to that, so I'm not going to say this game's terrible or anything. So this one I actually found at a flea market for a couple of dollars. There's some vendors there who are game specific, and so they know worth to price everything. So like they'll sell, I don't know what, like Metroid Prime for the GameCube, right? Like they'll sell it for $30, and that's kind of what it's going on eBay or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's people who are really up on game, and those who are really fucking like pieces of shit, and will try to sell you a game that's worth like 20 for like $40, thinking that you're that dumbass that's gonna buy it. Me, I'm not that stupid, bro, you know what I mean? I'm kind of careful with my shit. But anyway, this game here I found off like a random vendor. He had like random games on there, and I was like, Harvest Moon, I never played Harvest Moon before, so why not check it out, right? And I don't know, like I said, like I was gonna say, the fuck, I didn't even say this, but I don't know how much these games actually are. I don't know how rare they are. For the most part, I buy games just to add to the collection and to try them out. And Harvest Moon is one of those games that I've never played before. I don't know where it started or where it's at right now, but Harvest Moon, I guess, A Wonderful Life seems like a pretty cool like game to really get into. I played it for about 10 minutes. And I just had like the first 10 minutes just all story, it's just like you getting into the farm. Then you have like, I don't know if he's an uncle or a friend of the dad or something, and he's explaining, everything to you, the job, the land, the people, you know what I mean? So, I mean, this very story driven in the beginning. I didn't get very far to actually plant any seeds, to harvest anything, and, to see the moon, I guess. I don't know what Harvest Moon is, but I didn't get very far in the game, but it looks like a cute little game that's something you can really pop into when you've had a long ass day and you really don't want to get into like a Call of Duty type game or something with shooting, fighting, or anything like that. You want to just relax. And I think Harvest Moon is one of those games that over the years it has really grown in popularity. Not Harvest Moon, but this type of style of game. I think at this time there were only very, very, very few people who liked these, and I think it was more so, they played these in Japan, so when they brought it here, the interest wasn't really all there. So but over the years, like I said, this type of game has really, really exploded in popularity. So Harvest Moon is a pretty cute game. I didn't get very far into it, so I probably should play it a little bit more. Maybe I'll get a lot more out of it. Now this one I remember renting at Hollywood Video, right? The greatest freaking place that you can rent video games, movies, all that shit was Hollywood Video. Okay, I know there's a lot of Blockbuster loyalists out there who love it. Blockbuster was cool. I went there like one once or twice or something like that, you know, growing up, but we were just always Hollywood Video people. It was that or some mom and pop shop that was called Video Gallery or something like that we would always go to. But Hollywood Video was the GOAT, okay? And I just remember renting this game because I think when I got my GameCube, I only had like 2 games, which, you know, I was super excited. We kind of blew past it, and I was like, you know, I want to play some more games. But, you know, I didn't know what to rent. You know, I wasn't really up to game on what was new, what was cool or whatever. But I absolutely loved this movie, and I said, why not rent this game, right? And I'm talking about Shrek SuperSlam, baby. This one is really, really hilarious. It's a cool, fun fighter. It kind of reminds me, or it's almost exactly like Power Stone on the Dreamcast. And you know, another game that is exactly like this, and I'm looking to put into my collection, is Tom and Jerry War of the Whiskers. SuperSlam just says, you know, you're beating the shit out of each other. It is story driven, believe it or not. You know, there's like a part where you're as Shrek, you go visit Donkey, and like, you know, Donkey has to put the little babies to sleep, or his little dragon babies, which is crazy. Like, how the hell is Donkey piping the dragon? That still blows my mind. I'm afraid to actually try to think of exactly how that happens, because it's gonna go, you know, completely awry in my brain, and I don't want to have those visuals inside my brain. But anyway, you know, Shrek is telling a story of like these characters fighting each other over you know, over stupid stuff, and you're pretty much playing these characters fighting, you know, for the most part. But anyway, Shrek SuperSlam is a really cool game. If you haven't, please check it out, man. I don't think it's only for the GameCube, otherwise it would say so. But I just remember playing it renting it on the GameCube. It was either me or my sister, I believe. It was one of us, because the GameCube was mainly for my sister. But of course, you know, I had to put my hands on it and everything to kind of play a little bit, because I was a huge PlayStation 2 person. So, you know, that was my main console. But of course, when my sister got the GameCube, I just had to play it. But yeah, man, Shrek SuperSlam, such a cool game. I recommend it if you're into fighters. Please check it out, man. It's a pretty fun time, especially if you have kids, siblings, cousins, or friends that you play with. It would be an amazing time, you know, for sure. When it comes to sports games, I think I've said quite a few times that it's never really been my genre of game. But when it comes to arcade style type video games, I'm all for it. You know what I mean? Just like in the N64 one, I think I did explain it there. You know, some of my favorite games were the Blitz games, for example, NBA Jam, you know, those type of games. So it was a no-brainer that I had to like buy this game. And the cool thing about it is I actually found this game at the retro gaming store when they barely opened it back in like 2017, before, you know, the prices got inflated and these things are going for ridiculous prices. But I bought it for like $7, and it's you know, is it complete in bucks? No, it doesn't have the manual, but you know, this game just brings back a lot of nostalgia. I did have it for the Xbox back in the day, but you know, I couldn't find it at a good price. But who cares, man? Because this game is awesome, and that is NBA Streets Vol.2. If you know, you know, man. Like, very competitive. Me and my cousins would, damn, man, I'm telling you, we would be super competitive with each other. And, you know, we would place bets, you know what I mean? Whatever fucking broke-ass money that we had. Like, oh, bet you $1 and that type of shit. Like, bro, we weren't even balling like that. We were broke-ass little kids. And shit, you know what I mean? Getting our clothes and video games and stuff like that on layaway and shit like that. So what the hell were we actually betting, right? But anyway, NBA Streets Vol.2, such a great game, man. The first one is awesome, but the second one really, you know, has its own style. They're two very different games with their own styles. The third one is okay. I didn't really care for it, maybe because I kind of you know, fell out of the series after this one. But this one right here has a cool little unique style. And if you haven't played it before, it's essentially, you know, it's 3-on-3 basketball. You do like little tricks and stuff like that to kind of build like your special move. And once you like fill that bar up, you can do, you know, I guess like some sort of special dunk or special 2-pointer. And for every time you use your special, you take 1 or 2 points away from the opposing team, and it adds on to yours. So it's very competitive when you really get down to it. The music in here is pretty damn good. And just like, man, I just can't tell you guys enough. This is one of those games that I think I'm going to play on the channel eventually. You know, just because I just absolutely love it. And if you haven't played it, if you're into sports, or whether you're into them or not, and you haven't played NBA Streets Volume 2, I highly, highly recommend it. And it's just not my nostalgia talking. The controls are great. The graphics are decent. The moves, the music, like it's just an all-around easy game to really get into. Especially if you're a fan of like games like NBA Jams, for example. You're really gonna be into this one. So check this one out if you haven't. Now this game here actually is my original that I got back in like 2002, 2003 or something like that. It was a part of the bundle with the GameCube. And so, you know, when we got the GameCube, I think it was on sale at this point, because I remember my sister unwrapping it for Christmas. And when I seen this game was part of the bundle, I was like, I was just super excited, bro. Because I mean, it's Zelda, you know what I mean? So like, it's one of those promotional things. It actually says not for sale or some bullshit like that, but it was part of the bundle that came with the GameCube. And at this point in time, 2003, 2004, I have never played the original Zelda or Zelda 2. Obviously I did play these, and so I was just super excited to actually try these out. I didn't get very far just because I lost my patience, and obviously at that time the internet, we couldn't really just hop onto the internet. You know what I mean? You had to use the landline. You had to cut out the phone for you to use it. And my mom, we always had to have the phone on, just because, like, you know, if she was at work, she had to get in contact with us, and you know, if she was home, we had to have the phones running. So it was mostly between the hours of 7 and 9 that we can actually be on the computer. But you know, by that time, you're not going to want to look up a fucking, you know, a guide or anything, or a walkthrough for these type of games. So I kind of gave up fairly easily, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, man, it was a really cool experience being able to get this. And I thought it was even more dope that I was able to play Wind Waker, you know, for like 20 minutes. That's what it says, right? It says play Wind Waker for 20 minutes. I'm like, oh wow, 20 minutes, thanks. You know what I mean? But I think this is a cool collection, and like the most awesome thing about it is I still have the booklet. I still have everything. So I'm really surprised that I do, because most of these things always got lost and shit like that. So you know, kudos to me for not fucking it up, you know what I mean? This one here actually is a personal favorite of mine, and that is, boom, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Now, if you grew up playing the Tony Hawk games, like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games on the PlayStation or the N64, then you know that, you know, the formula was just you going through each level, collecting like words that spell skate or ollie or whatever the hell. You know, you go to different venues, you try to do different objectives, get the high score and stuff like that. But when the Underground games came out, they were story driven, and you got to do like character customization, which I'm a huge fan of. I'm not the only one, but any game that allows me to customize a character, I'm all in, bro. All right, and this one right here was no exception. I love the Underground series, and even though this one doesn't say Underground, I consider it to be the third installment of this series. So again, man, there's not really much to say. I think the cool thing about it, when they were like, the selling point for this game was that there was no loading screens, right? You can just hop into one level to the other, go to this part, or whatever, you know, without having to do this whole loading bullshit like that most games did. And you know, for me, that kind of sold me. I was like, hell yeah, you know, I could just skate around without stopping. Obviously, there are loading screens that are hidden by fucking, like, you know, little animations. So like when you get on the bus and you want to go to a certain spot or whatever, it just shows you on the bus you're able to move around. Essentially, that's the loading screen, just an interactive loading screen, if you want to go ahead and call it that. So American Wasteland, man, such a cool game, really on par with the Underground games in my opinion. And you know, this one holds a special place in my heart. If you haven't played any of these Tony Hawk games, wow, you really need to hop on those, man, because they're just so fucking good. And actually, you know, since I'm here, that's actually the next game that I'm going to play for my playthrough is Tony Hawk's Underground for the PlayStation 2. So stick around for that. Now, this game here needs no introductions, okay? And that is Mario Kart Double Dash, okay? I mean, I'm going to take it to the grave with me. I think Mario Kart Double Dash is the best Mario Kart game of all time. Okay, some people would say the N64, which, you know, it's good, it's fun, and like, you know, I had the most memories with that one, but this one just did everything just perfect, man. And not to say that Mario Kart 8 or any of the other ones aren't good, because Mario Kart 8 is fucking awesome. I really enjoy playing that one, but there's something about this one that just makes it so much better, and I think it's the team aspect of it all. I wish that they would have been able to do that in Mario Kart 8, where you're able to choose two people on one cart. It just made him so much more immersive, much more competitive. And you know, me and my boy Luke were talking about it in one of his videos in the chat, and you know, when he was playing Mario Kart with his daughter. And you know, it would be cool in Mario Kart 9 if they brought back this like team mechanic, and plus you can do counter attacks. You know, for example, if you bump into a character, they don't just do like whoa or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean, or they just do their little signature yell or whatever. Like, I really want them to, like, you know, like kick back or something like that, you know. Like, for example, like if you bump into Link, he gets his sword and just like whatcha. You know what I mean? Like, that would be pretty awesome and just make the game that much more competitive. Okay, but Mario Kart Double Dash is such a great game, super nostalgic. Me and my sister would absolutely play this game to death, man. Like, we burnt the game out like crazy. I can go ahead and talk about this forever just because there's so much nostalgia attached to it, but such a great game. I'm pretty sure everyone has played it, and if you haven't, and man, you really need to check it out, you know what I mean? Now, this next one here is nothing special. I got it for $1 at this record store, you know, a couple of years ago. And, you know, it's the typical, you know, film IP type game, and that is Madagascar. Okay, I didn't get very far in it. I got probably like 10-15 minutes in, and it's fun. I would have enjoyed it a lot if I was a kid and I played this. Like, if my nephew happens to come over, my niece or whatever, and like, you know, they want to play something, you know, that's not what they're used to. Like, they're used to playing the Switch, right? So the graphics are a whole lot better than anything the GameCube put out, but some would argue it's the same thing. Hey, you know what? You guys can argue that if you want to. But yeah, man, if you know they want to play something different, I would pop this in for them. You know what I mean? It's a pretty cool fun platformer, I guess. It's not really, what do you call these? Like a 3D platformer, whatever. You know what I mean? There's like different objectives for each chapter and stuff like that. You get to play as, you know, one of the 4 characters at a time. So fun game. I don't think I'll ever go through it and beat it unless, you know, you guys recommend it. I'll probably put a poll on Twitter like, hey, do you guys want to see me beat through Madagascar? And if people say yeah, then, you know, I have no choice. I have to give what the people want and play some Madagascar. Now, these two, I'm going to do it in like a combo form just because there's no reason for me to do them separately. And that is, and I think I remember my cousins having this game for the Xbox. I think I remember, that's where I remember playing, is that like when I would go to my grandma's house, they had an Xbox, so, and I think they had both of these games. I can't quite remember. I think it was him. I don't think it was at a homie's house, but that is Tak 1 and Tak 2. These games are cool, 3D platformers. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I really don't care for them. I bought them for like $4 at like a thrift store a few years ago, and the game's fun. It just, I don't know, it couldn't hold my attention. I don't know, maybe because I got used to, like, you know, certain 3D platformers, and this one just doesn't do it for me. The series doesn't. And, you know, I can see me as a kid really being into it, but as an adult, it just kind of, you know, it bores me really fast. So I didn't really get far when I was doing the gameplay footage, and it's just one of those games that I just, you know, after I got enough footage, I was like, okay, let's move on to the next one. It might be my ADHD and I just want, you know, a lot of boom, 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 or whatever the hell. But you know, these games are made or geared more towards kids, I should say. But, you know, if you have children, or if like nieces, nephews, you know what I mean, you want to show them something cool, I suggest popping this in for them and, you know, helping them out in the levels. I think they'd appreciate it a whole lot more than an adult would. So now this one's a fucking classic. All right, again, this one needs no introduction, and that is Luigi's Mansion. Whoa, Mario. Just like Mario Kart Double Dash, I remember actually renting this one as well. I didn't beat the game, and I think at that time, I want to say, I didn't really care for it. I know it sounds crazy, right? I was expecting something else. I like the whole horror aspect of it all. I like that he has like a little like Game Boy Color map or whatever the hell, you know what I mean? But I don't know, man. It just couldn't hold my attention back then, and I was just like, this is kind of boring. You know, I was a teenager at the time. I wanted to play something that like grabbed my attention, my teenage mind. You know what I mean? I was playing games like Grand Theft Auto and fucking Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. So of course this game was really, you know, not for me at the time. But I love Luigi's Mansion 3. That one was like a great game. I put so many hours into it, and it was so fun for the Switch. I think it's one of my favorite Switch games that I played. But this one here, I didn't really give it a fair share or a fair try. And so when I was playing it for like 10 minutes and stuff like that, I was kind of like, I'm like, you know what, I actually really need to start this game over and play it from the beginning. And I'm probably going to do that again for the channel, just so like I get that game footage and it sticks in my memory a lot more than just casually playing it for like 15 minutes. But Luigi's Mansion, there's not really much to say. It's an awesome game, and you know, a GameCube classic for sure. I've talked about wrestling games on my channel before, and I've always said that the N64 games have just always been more superior, right? And I still hold that, you know, to be true even now. Even though I haven't played the ones on the PS2 or anything like that, I'm still going to say that the N64 versions of wrestling games have always been the best. And THQ has always made some amazing wrestling games. And so, you know, when I played Day of Reckoning recently, I was expecting it to be good. Why? Because THQ was behind it. So I mean, why not, right? And even though it's a player's choice game, you know, I think that they just sold a lot of copies. I don't think it was so much that it was a great game. There's a lot of wrestling fans out there, right? And so I just didn't really like this game. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if it's the controls. It's only for the GameCube, so you know, this is an exclusive, but I don't know if it's just a control layout or you know, how I really wanted it to play. It just felt very sluggish to me. And you know, even though it did kind of draw me in a little bit, I don't know, it just didn't feel the way that a wrestling game should feel. You know, like I'm trying to grapple, trying to do different moves. Like, for example, like in WCW NWO Revenge, when you grapple somebody, you can push up and B, or down and B, or left or right or B, and you do different type of grapple attacks, right? Okay, this one here, I couldn't figure out how to do that. I would grapple him, and then like I'll just hug him, and then like, I don't know, like I'll just throw him down. It felt a little too realistic for me. I guess if that's a way of explaining it, because when I play wrestling games, I want it to be very arcade-ish, if that's a word. I want to be able to do some ridiculous moves on the opponent. You know, I want to be able to pick him up, do a suplex, boom, slam him down into the ring and shit like that. You could do that here, but I was just having a hard time with the controls, and you know, maybe I need to spend a little bit more time with it to kind of get used to it. But you know, Day of Reckoning, it's an okay game. You know, if you're into wrestling games, and this one's probably like, you know, your best bet, you know, for the GameCube. But you know, for me, it was just a no for me, dog. So this next one got its series on the GameCube, and that is Animal Crossing. Meow, 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 meow. Or the little characters, how they talk. Meow, 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 meow. You know, shit like that. But yeah, man. I actually, I think I got this game when I bought a GameCube off somebody. I think like in 2016 I bought a GameCube off like this one dude for like 40-50 bucks or something like that, and it came with Animal Crossing. So at that point I had never played any Animal Crossing game. Well, actually, I've never played an Animal Crossing game. You know, like I remember almost being tempted to buy New Horizons for the Switch. I just never did it, just because I'm like, okay, if I buy it, I'm gonna make a fucking mistake, because I know I'm not gonna invest in it. I did play this one when I first got my GameCube, just to test out the GameCube and all that shit. But it's a pretty cool game. It's just like Harvest Moon. It's one of those games where I feel like if you've had a really long day, very stressful, you know, or like you just feel upset and you really want to escape to somewhere relaxing, you throw in Animal Crossing and it just takes you to another world. And it has been about 2 years since I played this game, and obviously this game takes notes based off the calendar that's in the GameCube. So when I tried talking with the characters, they were giving me fucking attitude, bro. Like, oh, you think you're my friend now? I was like, dude, what the fuck? I just came back here 2 years later. Like, relax, bro. You know what I mean? Like, they were giving me some attitude and shit. I was cracking up, bro, but that shit was so stupid. But Animal Crossing is a really fun game. It really definitely takes, like, you know, some time to kind of get used to, you know, to kind of build and stuff like that. If you have the patience for it and you love this type of game or these types of games, and, like, you know, obviously you would want this in your collection, right? But Animal Crossing is a really cool game. I just found it funny that, you know, these motherfuckers were giving me attitude and shit for being gone for 2 years. Like, hey, bro, I've been busy, all right? Relax. This next one's actually pretty cool, and I've never played it before today, okay? So I was really surprised at how good it was. I remember seeing it all the time on the shelves at Hollywood Video, but I just never, you know, rented it. I don't know why, because it seems like the type of game I would have rented, so... Maybe because there was some other shit that I would much rather, just like other stuff that caught my eye. But that was X-Men Legends, okay? If you've played games like, what's it called? Ultimate Alliance for the PS2, for the 360, then, like, you know, this game is would be very familiar to you. The mechanics are pretty cool, very top-down-ish. It has this RPG, you know, element to it. Every time you kill an enemy, just like the Avatar game, you do get experience points and stuff like that. So it looks like it could get really difficult, okay? And something that just like over time would be an amazing game. I'm playing as Wolverine in the beginning, so you know, eventually it has here on the cover has Rogue, Storm, Nightcrawler, and Cyclops and Magneto. So who knows, as you get to play with them as well. That would be pretty cool, right? To play as Gambit even. Gambit's one of my favorite X-Men of all time. I'm not gonna lie to you, but you know, this game is pretty cool. I would highly recommend it if you're into these type of games. In the beginning, I was kind of getting bored with it, but then it started picking up, and I was like, okay, you know what? I can dig this. So another game that I might play on the channel. So you know, stay tuned for that. Hit that notification bell if you haven't, so you don't miss any videos, okay? So moving on to the last two. This one, just like X-Men, I never played before today, and man, I was having such a great time with this one. It reminds me of the Harry Potter games from this time, and you know, it's obviously from Sierra, and that is The Hobbit. It has elements of those games and Fable on the Xbox, and man, I was really getting into this game. I played it, I think, for like 30-40 minutes. I think this was the longest running game that I played, you know, for the most part. But man, I was just having such a good time with it. I love these kind of games where you can collect stuff. You know, you talk to the village people, you know, not the village people who sing YMCA, but actually people in the village. And you know, they kind of give you like little tasks and stuff like that. You go and do it, you get rewarded and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool game. Very action based in the beginning. You kind of get used to the controls and stuff like that. But I've never seen the Lord of the Rings movies or the Hobbit films. I know it's crazy, right? It's kind of like, what kind of nerd are you? I'm not a nerd, okay? Like, I know some people are much greater nerds than me. I've seldom watched, you know, some nerd shit. But anyway, the Hobbit game is a fucking amazing. I don't know if it's is it? I don't know if the sticker's blocking it. No, it's not a GameCube exclusive, but you know, this one is actually complete in box. But yeah, it's a really cool, like, adventure 3D platformer. I would highly recommend it, actually. I was just, like I said, I was having a really fun time. And you know, just like, you know, a few other games, this one's coming to the channel, so stick around for that. But The Hobbit, please, man, check it out if you haven't. I think that y'all would absolutely enjoy it. Now, last but certainly not least, I don't know why Capcom hasn't done anything with the fucking series. It just kind of makes me question Capcom in general sometimes. But anyway, that is Viewtiful Joe. This game is so badass. Like, I found it funny real quick before I forget. In the beginning, before you start the game, it asks you if you want to play the adult or the kids version. Like, what the fuck does that mean? The game is rated T for teen. What the hell is the kids version? I didn't go back. I should have went back and started a new slot and then choosing kids to kind of see the difference. But you know, I guess the only difference would be that during the cutscene in the beginning, you're at the theaters with your old lady, and then like she's all smooching on you, but it sounds like you guys are getting a little in, you know what I mean? But I would assume that that's the only thing that they cut out. But or the violence, maybe, who knows. But Viewtiful Joe, man, oh my gosh, like, such a cool game. The animation is just fucking, it's awesome. I don't even know what they call that art style, but the art style has always been cool to me. It's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up. You play as like this dude who's like obsessed with like this this character called, what's his name, Captain something. Captain Blue calls on his help, like, hey, you want to rescue your old lady? Come, you have to be the fucking hero, whatever the hell. But you know, you go into like the movie and you start fighting like these different characters, and it's such a cool, like the action is very satisfying. The buttons are perfectly laid out, and man, if you haven't played Viewtiful Joe, I have to highly recommend it. You know, out of all these games, there's probably a few that I highly recommend, like the Hobbit one, and this is another one that I highly recommend, man. Even looking in the back, they have 5 out of 5 GameCube Game of the Year. What year was it? 2003. So I didn't play this one until I bought it a few years ago, and when I did, I was really stuck on it, and I forgot I actually had it in the collection just because like it was behind the Wii games and shit like that. So Viewtiful Joe, check it out. I think there's a sequel as well. Like I think there's Viewtiful Joe 2. I could be wrong, like, you know, like many things, but such a cool game, man. I highly recommend it. So that was my GameCube collection, man. And you know, like I said, the video is gonna be pretty long. You know, if you need to take breaks in between, or you're like, you know what, I'll come back to it later, I completely understand. You know what I mean? Or if I don't know, I sound a little too goofy and you're like, I can't stand this fucking guy, I understand too. So but anyway, man, yeah, that was my collection so far. I freaking love the GameCube. I wish I would have spent more time with it. I feel when it came to renting GameCube games, I always overlooked them for PlayStation 2 and Xbox games. And I wish I would have given the GameCube more of a chance, just because, like I said, I was a teenager at the time, so I think I viewed the GameCube as a kid's game, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? Because like, as a teenager, what do you know? You know what I mean? But that's just the way that I seen things. So you know, I have the Dolphin emulator on my PC, and so, you know, I've really been downloading different types of GameCube games and giving them a try. I'm trying to figure out how to record it, you know, so I can put it on the channel, but I'm having really like buffering issues, and I can't really fix that. So, you know, any GameCube content aside from it not being, you know, physical, a physical disc like I have here, I can't really show you guys, just because it has really, you know, it has really huge buffering problems and it sucks. So yeah, man. So but anyway, like, you know, if you have any recommendations of GameCube games that I should you know, download a ROM and check it out, let me know at the bottom. As a matter of fact, let me know at the bottom what y'all think of any of these games. Any of these games ring a bell? You know, bring up something from your childhood. What do y'all think about it, man? Just because, like I said, the GameCube is such an interesting console, and it's just something that I wish I would have really got into when I was a teenager and not fucked around and thought like, oh, it's a baby console. Like, come on, bro, you grow up, okay? But yeah, let me know at the bottom what y'all think. So thank y'all so much for coming through to Brain Slush TV and hanging out with your boy Aries, man. Like, if your love never goes unnoticed. You know, your comments, the retweets, you know, people always shouting me out, the people who voted for YouTuber of the month, like, these things have all really given me confidence that I feel like I didn't have when I first started YouTube. And once I started meeting like these great people and having conversations with them, you know, of like things that we can relate to, it's just like, it's just been such an amazing thing, man. And you know, and we have such a beautiful community, and you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So thank y'all so much for always coming through and showing your boy some love and support, man. It just never goes unnoticed, and man, muchas gracias. So with all that being said, I will catch y'all in the next collections video. I think the next one is going to be the Wii and Wii U. I'm gonna clump those together just because I only have a few Wii U games and a pretty sizable Wii collection. So who knows, I might separate them, do a part 1, part 2, or I might clump them together, and it's gonna be a pretty damn long video. So you know, make sure you hit that notification bell so you aren't you know, missing anything that I drop on the channel. So muchas gracias once again, and I will catch y'all in the next one. All right, deuce.